The sky was on fire. Flames danced across the clouds as the spaceship tore through the atmosphere. Pieces of metal broke off and vanished behind the mountains. The emergency lights flashed red. The control panel sparked and smoked. Captain Ray. Walker pulled hard on the controls, but it was useless. The ship was going down fast. There was only one thing left to do: brace for impact. Everything went black. When Ray opened his eyes, he felt sharp pain in his side. His helmet was cracked. Blood ran down his arm. He tried to move, but heavy wreckage pinned his legs. The sky above was green, not blue like Earth, and the air smelled strange. Like metal and flowers, sparks flew around him. The ground shook once, then became still, with all his strength. Ray pushed the broken beam off his leg. He crawled. Out of the wreckage, pieces of the ship were scattered across the field. Flames burned in silence. He looked around. No sign of the crew. No voices, no movement. He was alone. His communicator was dead. No signal, no backup. His oxygen system beeped slowly, limited air. He needed to find shelter. He needed to survive. As Ray limped across the red grass, strange sounds echoed from the trees nearby. Soft clicks, rustling leaves, low growls. Something was watching him. He turned quickly. Nothing there, but the feeling wouldn't leave. He wasn't alone. The forest was dense, filled with glowing plants and vines that moved slightly on their own. He walked deeper. His steps were slow, each one heavier than the last. The trees whispered in a language he didn't understand. Suddenly, he saw movement, tall shadows. Between the branches, they were fast, quiet, graceful. Eyes glowed in the distance. Then everything went dark again. He fell, unconscious, when Ray woke up. He was no longer in the forest. Soft lights flickered above him. He was lying on something soft, like a bed made of leaves. His wounds were cleaned. His helmet was gone. He could breathe. The air inside the place was warm and sweet. As he sat up, he saw them, figures surrounding him, tall, silent, strange. They were not human. Their skin shimmered like moonlight. Their hair flowed like silk, moving as if touched by wind. And their eyes, bright and glowing, watched him with deep curiosity. They were all women, alien women, beautiful and powerful. They didn't speak his language, but their expressions were clear. They didn't know if he was friend or enemy. One of them stepped forward, taller than the rest, her body painted with glowing patterns. She looked at Ray with calm but firm eyes. She raised a hand slowly, then pointed to his heart, then to the stars above. He didn't understand, but he felt it. This was a warning, or a question. Who are you, and why are you here? Ray tried to speak, but his voice cracked. The woman turned and gave a command in her language. Another brought him water, in a carved shell glowing with faint blue light. He drank it quickly. It tasted like honey and fire. His body felt stronger, but his mind was filled with questions. Why didn't they kill him? Why did they help him? What planet was this? And what else lived here? He looked around the village, huts made of vines and glowing stone. Fires danced in the middle of the camp. Drums echoed from a distance, and far beyond, the forest pulsed with strange lights, like it was breathing, watching, waiting. Ray tried to stand. One of the women helped him. He looked at her. Her eyes were kind, but her muscles were strong. She could break him easily if she wanted. He nodded, trying to show respect. She nodded back. As night came, the sky turned violet. Stars shifted in slow patterns, and in the darkness, Ray saw something move at the edge of the forest. Not a person, not an animal, something else, tall, thin, with eyes like burning coal. It watched him, then vanished behind the trees. Ray's heart pounded. He knew he had survived a crash, but he wasn't sure he had survived the worst yet. Asterisk. He woke up to music, but it wasn't music from any world he knew. The sound came from deep drums, slow and steady, like a heartbeat echoing through stone. Low chants floated in the air, not words, just ancient sounds carried by wind. Ray sat up slowly. He was still in the alien village, but everything looked different in daylight. The huts glowed with soft color. Strange birds flew overhead with crystal wings, and tall statues stood all around, shaped like women, but with many arms and sharp faces. The alien tribe moved quietly, almost like shadows. They walked with grace, their steps barely touching the ground. Some wore bone armor. Others carried weapons made of glass and light. But all had one thing in common. They never spoke loud, and they never smiled. Ray noticed something else too. No children, no elders, only warriors. The tall woman who led them the night before stood watching him from a distance, her arms crossed, her eyes sharp like a hawk. She gave a small nod. He took it as a signal to follow. They walked together. Deeper into the jungle, the forest here was alive in ways he couldn't explain. Trees moved slightly, even when there was no wind. Flowers opened and closed like breathing lungs. Insects floated in the air, glowing, silent, watching. They stopped at a small pool of black water. The surface was still. The leader pointed into it. Ray leaned closer. At first, he saw only his reflection. Then the image shifted. He saw another man, human, crying out as he was dragged into the forest by something dark and long. Ray flinched. The water went still again. He looked at the leader. Her face was calm, but her eyes told a different story. This place had seen death before. He was not the first. She spoke, finally. A few soft words, strange and beautiful, then turned to walk back. Ray followed, trying to understand what the vision meant. Had others crashed here? Why didn't they survive? And what was in that forest? Back in the village, a ceremony had started. The tribe formed a circle. In the center, one of them danced, fast, fierce, like a fire in motion. Her face was painted with red and white lines. Each step made the ground shake slightly. Ray stood at the edge of the circle, silent. Then suddenly, the music stopped. All heads turned toward the trees. The forest had gone quiet, too quiet. The leader stepped forward, hand raised. Ray saw something move beyond the trees, a blur, black and tall, with glowing red eyes. The warriors drew their weapons, but they didn't chase. They waited. Whatever it wasn't new to them. They had seen it before. They feared it, but didn't speak its name. Later that night, Ray couldn't sleep. The images from the black pool played in his mind again and again. The man being dragged, the red eyes, the silent forest. He walked away from the camp, just a little, just to clear his mind. Then he saw her, one of the tribe, standing alone by the trees. Her face was painted white, her long hair tied with feathers. She looked at him, then placed a finger on her lips. Silence. Then she vanished into the forest. Ray hesitated, then followed. Branches scraped his suit. The air grew colder. He saw her again, walking ahead. She didn't speak, just kept moving, deeper. They reached a wide clearing. In the center stood a massive stone gate, broken, ancient, covered in symbols. Around it, glowing lines ran across the ground, like veins of light. The girl touched one of them. It lit up instantly. Ray felt something in his chest, a pull, a hum. The gate responded to him, not her him. She turned and whispered one word, chosen. Then she ran back into the woods. Ray stood alone, staring at the glowing gate. Behind him, something moved. He turned quickly, but saw only shadows. Something had followed him, and it wasn't one of the tribe. The forest spoke before the tribe did. It whispered warnings in the sound of cracking branches, in the hiss of wind sliding through glowing leaves. Ray didn't understand the language, but his body did. It tensed with every step. The moment he entered the sacred zone, the air turned heavier, not hotter, not colder, just heavier, like something old was watching him. He walked back toward the village with questions burning inside. But when he returned, everything looked the same. Like nothing strange had happened, like no one had followed him, like the black stone gate didn't exist. The tribe was busy, sharpening blades, weaving armor, preparing something. He didn't know what. He wanted to ask. But every time he tried, they turned away, silent, unreadable. Only one stayed close, the girl from the forest. the one who whispered, "Chosen." Her name was Lyra. She spoke little, but her eyes carried weight. Like she had seen too much and said too little, Lyra started teaching him. Not with words, but signs. She showed him how to move without sound, how to track by scent, how to feel the heartbeat of the forest through the solace of his feet. Ray learned fast. He had no choice. This world was wild. It didn't care that he came from the stars. It only cared if he could survive. He noticed things the tribe never crossed. Certain paths, never hunted in some zones, never ate meat from certain glowing animals, and they never, ever walked into the forest at night. One evening, as the sun bled across the sky, Ray asked Lyra why. She looked at him, then pointed to the trees, then to her own shadow, then drew a line across her throat. No words, just truth. That night, the drums were louder, the tribe danced. Again, not for joy, but for protection. Fire circled the village, eyes glowed in the distance. Ray stood outside his hut, watching, listening. Then he saw her, a young warrior from the tribe, walking alone toward the forest. Slow, like in a trance, he called out. But she didn't turn. The others didn't stop her. No one even looked. She crossed the forbidden line and vanished. The shadow swallowed her. No one followed. Ray turned to Lyra. She stood still, her face blank. "This is the rule," she signed slowly. "One leaves, none follow." Ray didn't sleep. The forest burned in his memory. He felt something deep inside. Not fear, not curiosity, but a pull. As if something inside the woods wanted him to understand. He walked to the edge of the boundary at dawn, just stood there, listened. And the forest whispered again, not with sounds, but with images, memories that weren't his. He saw men in armor. Human, terrified, screaming into the dark. He saw fire falling from the sky. He saw glowing blood. He saw the same stone gate, but alive, pulsing, calling. Ray stumbled back, gasping. Lyra caught him. She didn't ask what he saw. She already knew. He looked at her. His voice cracked. "This world, it remembers us." She nodded. Then showed him a broken piece of metal, a small human badge worn by time. It had a faded name, Captain Elias Ward, Earth Fleet. Ray recognized it, a captain from a mission lost 50 years ago. They were here. They didn't make it. He looked around the village, looked at the tribe, looked at Lyra. Then the truth hit him. They were not fully alien. They were part human, part something else, born from survivors, or from something darker. Lyra stepped close. She touched his chest, then her own. "Same fire," she whispered. "Same danger." Ray backed away slowly. He didn't know what scared him more, the forest or the truth inside him, because now the rules were clear. Obey or vanish. Learn or die. Stay human. Or become something else. Asterisk. The storm didn't come from the sky. It rose from the ground, without wind, without thunder, just a deep, silent shift. The earth trembled slightly as if it had remembered something it wanted to forget. Ray stood on the edge of the old stone ruins, the same gate he saw glowing days before, now cold, silent, buried in vines. He came here alone, not by accident, but by instinct. Something was calling him again. He pulled the vines aside, symbols lined. The surface, not alien, not human, but something between and near the base. Carved into the stone, a name barely visible, scratched in with desperation. Ward. Ray stepped back. That name again, Captain Elias Ward, the missing commander from Earth's deep space fleet. But how? How did his name end up here, etched into a structure older than any human ship? He didn't know how long he stood there. But when he turned to leave, Lyra was behind him. She wasn't alone this time. Another tribe member stood beside her. An elder he hadn't seen before. Her skin marked with strange scars. Her eyes were different, dull, heavy, like someone who had seen too much and said too little. The elder stepped forward, placed her hand on the stone, then spoke one word, clear and sharp. "Memory." Ray looked at Lyra. She gave a slow nod. Then led him through the forest, not on the open paths, but under the roots. Through narrow tunnels carved by time and secrets, they reached a hidden chamber. Walls covered in moss, symbols glowing faintly. In the center, old tech, broken wires. Helmets, shattered screens, human gear, earth gear. Ray dropped to his knees. He recognized the insignia. A rescue pod from the U's Artemis, the same model his own ship came from, but this one was decades old. Rust covered everything. Bones rested near the walls, human bones. Next to them, journals, torn and stained. He opened one. The pages were filled with rushed handwriting, sketches, warnings. They lived through us. We came to save them. They changed, or we did. Ray's hands trembled. The tribe weren't just survivors. They were the result of humans who didn't escape, who adapted, who gave in, or maybe gave birth. Lyra didn't speak, she just pointed to a spot on the wall, a drawing. It showed two figures, one human, one alien, merging into a single shape. Above them, a black eye watching. Below them, fire and roots twisting together. Ray turned to her. You knew, didn't you? She nodded once, slowly. This is not just your planet, he whispered. This was ours too. But before Lyra could respond, the ground shook again, this time stronger, angrier. From deep below, a roar echoed, not of a beast, but of a machine, awakening. The tech in the room lit up for a second. A blue light flickered from the old control screen. One word appeared. In a faded font, rebooting. Ray stepped back. This place wasn't just a grave. It was still alive, still waiting. He looked at Lyra. Her face had changed, fear now clear in her eyes. She didn't know this would happen, not this. A hidden voice echoed through the chamber, cold and mechanical. Unknown user detected. Biological signature recognized. System override active. The gate outside, the one he saw first, began glowing again. Stronger this time, brighter, pulsing like a heart. The trees above shifted. Animals screamed. The forest twisted. Ray had unlocked something, and whatever it wasn't just watching anymore. It was waking up. The forest was breathing, not in rhythm with the wind, not in rhythm with the tribe, but in rhythm with him. Ray stood at the center of a storm no one else could see. The trees leaned toward him. The ground hummed beneath his feet, the glowing gate pulsed brighter every hour, like it wanted to speak. Lyra watched from a distance. She didn't step close. Not this time. She knew the signs. She had seen this before, with others who didn't return. Ray's skin felt different. His reflection in the still water no longer matched the man who crashed here. The veins in his arms glowed faint blue under the surface. His eyes caught the light like the tribe's did. He was changing, slowly, quietly. But he hadn't chosen yet. Not fully, not until now. The voice came again, not out loud, not from the trees, but from inside, cold, clear, constant. You are the key. You carry the old fire. Bring them to me, and you will live forever. Ray stumbled back, his hand over his ears. But the voice wasn't in his ears. It was inside his blood. Inside the strange connection between him and the gate. It spoke like a god, but felt like a weapon. Later that night, the tribe gathered. In silence, they circled the fire but did not dance. The drums were gone. In their place, the sound of wind whispering through bone chimes. An ancient warning. The leader stepped forward. She looked at Ray, not with anger, not with fear, but with knowing. She had seen the glow in his eyes. She had felt the gate awaken. She knelt, drew a symbol in the dirt. A choice. One side showed the tribe, the other, the gate. Then she placed her hand over her heart. A question without words. Who are you with Ray? Didn't answer. Because he didn't know. Because part of him wanted the power. Part of him wanted to become something more. But another part, a voice smaller than the rest, just wanted to go home. That voice faded each day. The more he connected to this place, the more he felt like it belonged to him, or he belonged to it. Lyra came to him in the dark. She didn't speak. She placed an old blade in his hand, human-made, rusted, heavy, a weapon from the past, a memory of what he was. Then she signed slowly, "If you choose them, we become shadows. If you choose us, you become one of us." Ray didn't sleep that night. He walked back to the gate. The ground cracked around it. The symbols now burned bright gold. The voice returned. "You were left behind by your own kind. We kept you alive. We can make you more." A figure stepped out from the edge of the forest. Not Lyra, not one of the tribe, but a man, his face pale, eyes empty, skin like stone. Ray stepped back. He knew that face, Captain Elias Ward, but not alive, changed. Possessed by the machine's voice, Ward spoke, but not with his own voice. "We tried to resist. We failed. You still have a chance." He held out his hand, a glow of raw power surrounding his fingers. "Join us, or burn with them." Ray looked down at the blade in his hand, then looked back at the gate, then to the stars above, the ones he might never see again. He took a breath, not as a human, not as one of the tribe, but as something in between. Then he chose. The fire didn't start with flame. It started with a scream, not from a human throat, not from the tribe, but from deep within the trees, a sound that made the birds fall from the sky, a sound that made the glowing plants fold in fear. The gate was open now, not physically, but spiritually. Whatever slept beneath the ground had stepped into the world, not fully, not yet, but enough. Ray stood at the center of the village, the blade still in his hand, his chest rising fast, eyes glowing faint blue. He had made his choice. He didn't join the machine. He didn't betray the tribe, but that meant something else had to break. The tribe was no longer whole. Half of them believed the gate was a god, that Ray was a messenger, that joining the light would save them. The other half stood with Lyra, fierce, loyal, afraid of what Ray might become, and so it began. Not with a vote, not with words, but with the sound of a spear hitting the ground, and a warrior charging at her own sister. Ray jumped between them. The fight had started, and it wasn't stopping. Blades clashed, bone armor cracked. War cries echoed through the forest. The sky turned red. The trees shook as if caught in a storm. Ray fought with instinct. He didn't know all the tribe's moves, but his body moved like it remembered things his mind had never learned. The machine's power inside him surged. Faster reflexes, sharper vision. He dodged, blocked, struck back. But he never killed. He only disarmed. Because deep down, he still hoped they could come back from this. But not all of them wanted peace. Some were already lost. Their eyes glowed too bright. Their skin cracked like dried metal. They had touched the gate and let it in. They didn't want freedom. They wanted fusion. Lyra fought beside him, graceful, deadly, silent. She moved like lightning. Each step a warning, each strike a prayer. But even she looked at Ray now with doubt. She had seen the way he healed too fast. The way he didn't bleed like before. She didn't say it, but she felt it. He was becoming something else. Ray pushed forward through the chaos toward the forest, toward the gate. If he could shut it, maybe this would end. But something waited for him. Something tall, thin, and smiling. Captain Elias Ward, or what was left of him, his skin now fully transformed. His eyes glowing like the core of a dying sun. "You can't stop this," the voice said through Ward. "It has already begun." Ray didn't reply. He just raised the blade. The old human blade, rusted but still sharp. The last memory of who he was. Ward laughed. "You still think you're one of them. You're not." Then they charged. Metal clashed with memory. Power struck against purpose. The forest exploded in color. Not fire, not lightning, but something in between. The trees glowed from the inside out. The animals ran for miles, and the sky cracked like broken glass. Ray struck Ward down, not to kill, but to break the machine's grip. For a moment, just 1 second, he saw the real man's eyes, tired, grateful, fading. Ward mouthed one word. Free, then vanished, not with a body, but like ash in wind. Ray fell to his knees. The gate behind him started to close, not by tech, but by choice. The planet itself was pushing it back. The war was ending, but not without cost. Ray looked around. The village was burning. Bodies lay still. The tribe was smaller now, but those who stood together. Lyra walked to him, blood on her face, fire in her eyes. She didn't ask what he did. She just nodded and whispered. One part survived, and one part changed. Ray didn't answer because she was right. The world didn't fall with sound. It fell with silence. No war cries, no machine whispers, no drums, no chants, no birds, just wind and ash and breath. Ray stood where the gate once pulsed with power. Now only black stone remained, cracked and cooling. The forest no longer glowed. The trees no longer leaned toward him. Whatever had lived beneath the surface, it was gone, buried or burned, maybe both. But the damage remained. The tribe stood in pieces, some wounded, some mourning, others silent, staring at the place where the sky had split open just hours before. Ray's hands shook, not from pain, but from knowing he could have chosen differently. From knowing he might still have to. The change inside him had not stopped. Even with the gate sealed, even with the machine's voice gone, something had rooted itself within him. A spark of the old world, or maybe the birth of something new. Lyra approached slowly, her clothes torn, her face streaked with soot, but her eyes still clear, still sharp. She placed her hand on his chest, over his heart, then over her own. One must remain, she said. The tribe or the memory? Ray looked around. He saw what she meant. The planet was healing, but it needed balance. It couldn't carry both. The old machine blood still inside him, and the fragile tribe rebuilding from ash. He was the crack in the system now, the choice that refused to vanish. He could leave, take a ship, if any still worked, escape, vanish into space, try to find Earth, try to be human again, or stay, become part of the wild, become something neither man nor machine, something this planet might one day need, but not today. Ray walked to the edge of the village, looked out over the broken horizon. Sunlight touched the river, turning it gold. He turned to Lyra, smiled faintly. You lead them now, he said. Not because I can't, but because I shouldn't. She didn't argue, she only bowed, the old sign of respect. From one fire to another, Ray stepped into the forest, not running, not hiding, but returning to the place where it all began. To the roots, to the silence, to the wild. Some say he walks between the trees even now. Not alive, not gone, a guardian, a warning, a memory that breathes. And when the sky turns red once more, when the gate stirs again beneath the soil, they will look to the forest, and she will whisper to the next generation, my father still watches, from the shadows, from the wild, from the stars we left behind.